Now you are very welcome back to the Aviva Stadium, where Fiona Hayes, we've just watched Leinster obliterate the Premiership champions. In the end, they won by 55 points to 24. At a game that should have been nervy at half-time. It was 17 points to 10. You're wondering, Leicester asking plenty of questions, but in that third quarter, Leicester just blew them away.
Yeah, they just ground it out, didn't they? Just when you thought, you know, their backs were against the wall a little bit with that yellow card, they showed their ability of a team and how good they are, that they were able to get a massive turnover in the middle of the park by Ringrose, who's been absolutely outstanding. They kicked up, got another scrum penalty when they were scrumming 7 against 8. So this pack, it's almost like they're able to get up to another gear. You know, they're sitting there, they're absorbing all that Leicester pressure, especially at breakdown time. But once they went in at half time, I'd say there was a few words spoken and they were absolutely able to lift it to another gear.
What was the reason for that transformation? Because first half, Gary Ringrose gets 2 tries inside the first 16 minutes. It's a perfect platform for the game. But then they're not able to push on from that point. But yet the second half, there was a relentlessness about them, especially after the 50th minute, around that time.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think in the second half they were able to get cleaner ruck ball, which meant that they were getting faster ruck ball, and we know how dangerous Gibson-Park is when he can get it in that 3-second mark when they're able to move it nice and quick. So Leicester done really well in the first half at disrupting the breakdown. They caused Leinster awful trouble, even Leinster giving away a few penalties at times. But I think they went back in, had a look at that, and when they came out they were so dominant, especially at scrum time, that the Leicester team's tired as well. You know, that really blitz kind of coming up defence that we saw internally, especially, it kind of died down once the more Leinster pulled away and got a couple of tries.
We talked about the back three before the match started, and the fact that Hunter Pollard was likely to put high ball.
Yeah.
That's as it played out. But in the end, Jimmy O'Brien had an excellent game. Hugo Keelan was as reliable under the high ball as he normally is. James Lowe went off injured, but was doing okay before that. Put a very good kick across the pitch himself at 1.2. The back three didn't seem to have too much problem with high ball being put in on top of them.
No, and it's funny, I actually talked about the Leicester back three before the game. Of course, we know how good Leinster, but I just thought Jimmy O'Brien, you know, we talked about Larmer in there or not, he just proved that he's getting there and that he's going to be in serious contention for a starting place on that team as well. I thought he was excellent under the high ball. I thought his footwork in attack, Mike Brown did read him well at times, but he just created so much, and every time I see him in a Leinster starting jersey, he's grown and grown as a player. And even Frawley coming on had to go kind of set in at full back at times, but then went on the wing in defence as well. He just looked naturally, you know, everyone just looks so at ease when they're coming into these positions. Harry Byrne had to come on, and Ross had to shift as well.
For the O'Brien try as well, lovely.
Absolutely beautiful. But that's, I think they have the ability to do that. They're almost putting each other under pressure, and I imagine they're doing it on the training ground to get those starting spots, because it means so much to them. And this is huge for them to have a quarter-final, a semi-final, and potentially a final at home ground. And to be fair, the Leinster supporters were out in their full today, and they were definitely giving the referee stick at times.
I have to give Alan Quinlan credit, because it appeared on Thursday that Scott Penny might start. So basically Quinny was saying every time he sees Penny play, URC or his one game in Europe before this, he scores a try. So he was backing him to score. What a handoff before his try as well, when he snuck out in the back of them all.
Yeah, he's really good in attack. I know, like I think he's a different type of player than Van der Fleer. You know, Van der Fleer seems to be everywhere, but what I like about Penny is he picks his moments. As Quinny said, he gets those tries and he's always there to get them. But his footwork and his handoff to get that, and he works really, really hard, and very unlucky not to get a few penalties at the breakdown as well. He was in slowing down Leicester ball, which is what we needed at the start of that second half.
You called it pre-game. We did all the talk about Caelan Doris. First start in his professional career at 7. He goes off injured.
Yeah.
He looked in quite a bit of pain. To me, it looked on the replay on the TV as if his shoulder had popped.
Okay.
And then they kind of gave him a bit of a sling we could see below when he was coming off. Now, he was on the bench for the second half of the game. Brian Byrnes, I should say.
Yeah.
So obviously Byrnes go off and Doris ends up going to number 6.
Yeah.
That was an unfortunate point there. But again, it opened the chance for Penny then to come in eventually at 7, for Doris to just flick over the other side.
Yeah, and they just have such great back rows that they have the ability to do that, and everyone looks natural in their position. We know Doris could have gone in just as easy at 8, and Conan could have shifted into 6, but for Penny, he's definitely now 7, and I think with Van der Fleer ahead of him, sometimes it's hard when you're sitting watching that, because he mightn't be utilised at 6 or 8, but those other players like Conan, Bears, they get a chance to get in at 6 or 8, and I think to the game. Baird very unlucky. He seemed to be having a good enough game. He had a couple of handling errors, but I thought physically around, defensively on the line, he was in there making those low hits and absolutely chopping guys. So he's a huge loss, and you're thinking, oh God, we're losing a bit of bulk here. But Leinster were able to bring Penny out and be quite dominant again.
And when James Lowe went off again, he looked in quite a bit of pain. So let's see where he is in 3 weeks' time for the semi-final. But again, they were able to readjust, and Frawley comes on, and Frawley for a point went back in at 15. These players are versatile, and that's a problem solver for them when they've got players that can come in like that.
Yeah, now I presume the scoreboard kind of takes the pressure off a little bit, but yes, you're correct, they are versatile. Like Frawley's the type of player any coach would love on your bench. You saw him go on, he shifted into the wing. We know he can play full back. We've seen him at 12, and we probably might see him at 10 down the line in the future. So they have such versatility, but they work on their skill set so hard that at training, these Leinster team, they're shifting in and out. They're constantly going into positions and trying and testing themselves like that. Even Van der Fleer we saw going in at hooker. I know it was hard, but they back themselves so much, and I think they view the game that rugby is rugby. And obviously everything is specialised, but if you can have that mindset when you're in the heat of battle, it takes a lot of pressure off your shoulders.
Ross Byrne gets 7 from 7. He kicked wonderfully, but he allowed his younger brother Harry to kick into the corners a couple of times after he came on. So Harry Byrne was able to be very involved once he came on as well. I'm sure it's going to be a boost to his confidence. We've been talking about this guy since he was so good with the Ireland 20s. We saw a little glimmer off the bench there as to what he can do.
Yeah, he's just like those off the backs. He was breaking through the contact. And what I always think about Harry is he likes to play on the gain line. He gets himself involved, but he breaks that contact in his look, and he always has his hands free. And it's almost, for a small guy, well, not that small, but he enjoys the physicality of the game. He enjoys getting hit. A lot of players will get into their shell when they're playing tell because they just want to recycle the ball, but he's constantly thinking, what'll I do next? Even when I was watching him from up here, and he could see the Leicester defender turning his back. That means he knew there was space, and what a beautiful little pop back inside to Jimmy O'Brien. But he saw that. He knew that was going to happen. His body angle made him turn, and he just has the ability to shift players in defence, and it's really good to see. And Leinster are inundated with 10s at the minute. I know we were talking about it, and you've the young guys coming up as well. You've Charlie Trechter, and then you've got Cian Prendergast. So it's amazing. And you know what, those guys battling out of training, seeing pictures of Prendergast training, it's going to push each other even further when Johnny's gone down the line.
He's not one of the young guns, but in the case of Ross Byrne, he knows now at this point that barring some kind of miracle recovery, Johnny Sexton's not going to be back until the end of the season. He's probably played his last game for Leinster. So Byrne is going to be empowered now for the rest of this campaign in the Heineken Champions Cup, and probably for the rest of the URC campaign, to be Leinster's first choice 10 now. How do you rate his performance tonight? Yeah,
100%, and I think that's what he needs. He needs that focus. He now knows that he's the main guy. You know, I'm sure he's played a lot of rugby where he's played unreal rugby, but Johnny obviously comes in and takes the throne, which Johnny's that good, and you know he deserves to do that. But I thought Ross Byrne was very good tonight. He had a couple of maybe kicks that he done one down the middle that wasn't probably on, but other than that, I thought he set back. I could see him in the backfield. He's constantly, his chat is huge. He's constantly talking to the forwards. He's pulling them around the place, and he just seems to play exceptionally well when Henshaw and Ringrose are outside him as well. The three of them combined excellently.
Well, look, I was going to joke at the end of this and say that Leicester had Harry Potter, but it was the opposite 13 who had the magic. Would have been a great line if Potter hadn't got the try at the end, so that one was slightly ruined, unfortunately. But we did see some serious glimpses out of Gary Ringrose. He was named as the player of the game. He's got such good feet. He's got such good reads defensively. He is just developing and developing and developing. I can see why Brian O'Driscoll, the former great Leinster in Ireland 13, is such a big fan of Gary Ringrose.
Oh my God, who isn't? I don't think I can talk to anyone from any province that just doesn't look at him with his footwork when I'm sitting up here. What he does to defences, he's an ability to turn them inside out almost. He's never stopped dead in his tracks. He gets you gain line every single time he's carried, and that's even on flat passes when he's in space. He just knows how to attack, and you know, over the years I've seen his defence get much better, and I think he's becoming the all-round package. And as a 13, that's what you want. You want someone to be able to read that defensive read on the outside, but he's the footwork to be in space and put people into space also.
You get such an appreciation when you sit up here high when he makes a decision decisions about when he's going to shoot out for a tackle. He's very good at picking his moments.
He's brilliant at picking his moments, and when I was up here as well, I can see him lining up. He's always thinking 2 phases ahead. He's excellent at shifting the break of play. You can see him almost leave that blind side to come around open, and he just gets involved and he comes in as first receiver, and that takes a huge kind of pressure off Ross Byrne when you have someone outside you like that who'll come into the line. If you're not there, they'll come in and take control of that first receiver, and he'll come in and do that, or else he'll creep in inside in the back line. He's just a player that every single time I watch him, he's getting better and better, and even coming back after injury.
No problem. Leicester, how do they assess this, Fiona? Because they're in a game, 17-10, 2 World Players of the Year not involved for their opposition. A few guys have picked up injuries, they've had to reshuffle a little bit. You're thinking they're right in the game going into the second half, and then they end up surrendering 7 tries and all over the night and get very heavily beaten. How disappointed will they be with their second half?
They'll be disappointed, but you know what? I'm disappointed that there's no plan B with Leicester. You know, you're 50 points maybe to 17 down or whatever it was, and they're still box kicking in the middle of the half. Yeah, they had a lovely intercept pass, but what about they try endeavour? We saw glimpses of it in the first half when they attacked, when they went at Leinster. They were able to get, especially their big ball carries. Visa is able to get you gain line, and you know, I thought the centres done really well, but it's just this same box kicking game, and they weren't getting any change out of the back three. We spoke about how good they are, and I think
to give Watson credit, wonderful finish, yes. but that was a try which was Brown going for the quick tap after they'd already gone for the penalty in the corner, and the try that they scored here from Potter was a breakaway. Yeah. So they weren't creating a huge amount.
No, it's the creativity. Like their line out was excellent, but that's what disappointed me about them. I thought the crowd were booing early on, but they were well in the game. And if you're in the game and you're game planning, you're annoying Leinster. That's even better to your ears to hear the crowd going mad. But as the game went on, they just didn't change that game plan. It was still box kick after box kick. And you know, you spoke about Anthony Watson. I mean, Freddie Stewart. How good would it have been to see Freddie Stewart come into the line, or obviously in the air we know he can attack, but he's also really good footwork like Ringrose. It would have been great to see him attacking out wide.
They would love to get the type of ball that's there for Leinster on the other side. So just a very final word on Leinster then. Obviously they've got to run to the final from here. They're scoring 6 tries a game, they're unbeaten in 21. Do you expect them to go on and lift the Champions Cup at the end of the season?
I think this is definitely their year. I think the home advantage, especially potentially you're looking at maybe 2 French teams, so that is going to be absolutely huge for them. Injury wise, they'll be looking at a couple of their big ball carriers if they can get them fit, but I think watching them here today, the home crowd, they look exceptionally focused, and I think the squad that's there has the ability to do that if they just need to play like as a unit, and they need to grind out these French teams, you know what I mean, and stay in there, and then we'll see what they can do.
We'll see if it's to lose in 3 weeks time. That's our lot. Splunk is up next. Talk to you soon.